Well, I'm super excited to have you on. I'm super excited to take a deep dive in what you're about, how you got started, where you're looking to go, our partnership with EXP and doing some big bad things.
Sure.
But I wanted to have you on because I truly don't know. Like, I know KW, Chris Coronato.
Okay, yeah.
I know you like the fast cars. I know you like the gym. But what happened? Like, what got you into the world of real estate? How'd you start?
It's a great question. So it goes back to, and kind of ties in some of the gym stuff too. I was in the fitness industry for a very long time, about 16 years. Operations, management, sales, went from the luxury side all the way down to the general public, right? So thousands upon thousands, like ran gyms with 10,000 plus members. And the customer service aspect was always top of mind.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people talk thinking that real estate is sales. I haven't necessarily found that to be the truth. I really do feel that it's more of that concierge customer service, white glove service kind of stuff. Going through the gambit of multiple different fitness facilities, a lot of people along the way say, have you ever thought about real estate? I love this, and I love the environment and the people and the interactions. After I don't know, my fifth company change within a decade, I said, you know what? Everyone's trying to reinvent the wheel in that space. Let me see what real estate looks like. So I had an opportunity leaving a company that, took care of me very well, and I was excited about it. I had a couple opportunities to go back into the fitness game, and I said, you know what? Let me see what real estate looks like. So I started to, focus on the license piece. I had time. So I was like, and this is back before online stuff was going on. So it was very interesting to actually go into a class, learn from a professional, do all that. But then at the same time, I was still utilizing everything around me of like YouTube and anything else that exists. Well, what do we do? Like the license part is one thing. What do we do here? And I had a passion from the fitness industry of helping people. And frankly, this is the biggest transaction anyone's ever going to make. And being able to bring that customer service, bring that white glove service and that concierge kind of service to the real estate world, which after even buying my first home, I didn't feel that. And I wanted to feel that, right? And we talk about all these agents doing all these things, but frankly, it's taking care of the customer. And that's really what it boiled down to for me. So I was like, there's a missing niche in the market. And I felt it was going to be that piece of customer service. So jumped right in feet first and said, all right, push this part of my world, which was, again, like half of my life at that point, pushed that to the side and dove right into real estate.
So what year was that?
That was 2000 and end of 2013, beginning of 2014.
Okay, cool. And it's funny that you saw that from like just getting into the business too, and like from that or prior to, just based on your experience. I always say the real estate agent doesn't even seem to process that the home that this person owns is probably the biggest asset in their portfolio.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people are not capable of actually having a consultative approach around like not just the service, but the fact that there are a lot of poor decisions made. The client can do whatever they want, but we're there to at least give them the information, the data, and then they're able to make that decision based on that. And I think that's like you coming at it with that approach from day one is super cool to hear because it's so different than what I see, so many times throughout this business.
Sure. Well, I think you touched down on something, not to kind of take this off kilter, but the idea that a real estate agent, if you go to school, right, and you've gone through your license, the transaction stops once you've married them, right?
Yeah.
Said, hey, here's the house, here's this, and you walk away. Honestly, the fun begins in really that the poor decisions, things that need to be made, things that need to be done between finding that perfect house, negotiating the deal, getting that done, to the closing table. That's where my 5-star reviews are going to come in. It's not getting in the car and hunting out the house and doing this and doing that. It's consulting from that point to the closing table.
Yeah.
So thanks for bringing that up.
It's the experience, the journey. Like
that's right.
Yeah. So 2013, got your real estate license. Where'd you hang it?
Keller Williams.
Cool. That's where that was KW Hoboken?
Yeah. That's KW Hoboken.
So that's where I met you.
Right out of the gate. Yeah.
You actually were probably at KW Hoboken before me. I came in 2015, I want to say.
Definitely came in before.
So you're OG KW Hoboken. I was right when I was starting.
Sub 150 agents at that point. And then ended at 400 before I left or whatever that nonsense was. So, yeah.
So I remember you and I both had the best hair at KW Hoboken. Well, there was no doubt within the brokerage.
Who has the best, but yeah.
We never
challenged.
We just both. Yeah, we'll let you guys challenge that.
I don't see why not.
And we're all 10 years older too, or 12 years older, and we still have the hair, which is all I need.
It's not a bad thing.
Right now, that's we're both winning.
Yeah.
But yeah, so from there, I know I met you in 2015. I think you came out of the gates. You were pretty successful in a short amount of time as a real estate agent, right?
No.
Okay.
No. First year, I was really successful at making it look like I was successful. So the idea that the first year, and I think this goes for a lot of agents, the first year sucked.
Yeah.
But I was very good at putting on the suit, putting on the tie, going into the office, being busy, doing the things that you need to do in order to build that business. So it was a grind every single day. But I will tell you, I think the first year that I was a full-time agent, if I made $3,000, I got to check it, but I'm pretty sure I have a check hung in my office for legitimately like $3,000 of like the whole entire year. So by second year, totally different story.
Do you feel like looking back, knowing what you know now, so like me as well, my first year as a realtor in 2007, I did one rental in Roxbury, New Jersey, and it's because my mentor said, I'm not dealing with these people, please take them. And then I remember sitting in the office, 21 years old with my real estate license, trying to figure out how to do a lease, trying to figure out how to do an application, credit, all that stuff, and nobody was helping me. And I was just sitting there like nervous. I was like, geez, what do I do? I've never even rented my own apartment at this stage of life. So for me, I really set out to allow agents to have a different experience than what I was feeling in that time. And do you feel like looking at your first year of real estate, are there things you could have changed to have made more than $3,000?
So two things I would have done a little differently. I wouldn't have been shy from rentals.
Yep.
Because my first transaction was a rental just like yours, but it was a big rental. It's a nice rental. At the end of the day, that would have been the first one. But I think the second thing and more important thing would have been going back sooner and building what I needed to build beforehand. Because I think that's a life skill that a lot of us don't necessarily tend to take with us.
Right.
And that's relationship building. I had a lot of relationships, had a lot of contacts, had a lot of people, the first exercise, a lot of people, open up your phone, how many contacts do you have? How many of those people are you actually connecting with?
Right.
And I think there's a big difference there. So the first year of my real estate license was doing all of that. Was all right, let me reestablish these relationships. Let me get them on my, on my radar and in my hot sheets and then my CRMs and all the other stuff. Where if I had actually carried forward some of these relationships from the fitness industry, from my previous life, that first year would have been totally different. But I wouldn't have changed anything from a structural perspective of, hey, I was trying a lot of different things.
Right.
And I think agents still need to dabble in the idea of, hey, send out some mailers.
Yeah.
Do some personalized letters, thank you cards. Do a lot of the little things that are going to add up to the big wins, which I spent a year doing that. I could have been a little bit more focused. Yeah. Could have been a little bit more streamlined with it. But would I have changed anything? Just doing it sooner.
Yeah.
And just having an action plan while I'm getting licensed, not waiting as the license drops and say, all right, let me go. I'm licensed now. Wasted 3 months.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I've done it. On that side of things too, like when did it start to flow for you? Like when did it start to click? Because the Chris I met at KW was in 2015. Yep. I feel like you were grooving, right?
At that point.
Yeah.
Starting to move. Two things. One, a lot of what I had done was coming to fruition. And again, all of that stacked up, built up stuff was now starting to flow appropriately. It did a few other things. One, I'm a challenged kind of guy to the idea of like, you give me something and say I can't do it, I'm going to show you that I'm going to do it better than anybody.
Right.
And then somebody at that point said, well, after about 6 months being into this, I think this might be a little bit of a pipe dream.
Yeah.
That's all I needed.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah? Okay, no problem. Now, don't get me wrong. I was doing like side work. I was doing other stuff because I didn't want to take the focus off the real estate, but you need income.
Yeah.
But every single minute, moment, second was I'm doing real estate. So once all of those relationships started to click and fire, I was looking at different avenues of coaching. I was understanding a little bit more of that ground game that I needed to establish. That's when things started, and it was just knocking off at that point. It was like, all right, I had a client. I did that one rental. That turned into 2 referrals and then this. And I established those systems early on, which was great to then have that be a feeder process. Because even the first client I had was my real estate teacher from the school. And I'll give him a shout out. Kyle Kovacs is just awesome.
Oh, Kovacs is the man.
Kovacs is the man. And at the time, it was like 30 under 30 or whatever it was, or 20 under 20. I mean, the guy he was a child when I met him 13, 14 years ago. And he's still a young man, but he gave me my first client. Yeah. And he's like, I just don't do that area. I was like, okay. No problem. And then all of a sudden it just started to spiral. So it was doing all the mechanics that I was doing and then now implementing them in a way that seemed so much more systematic. Yeah. And that's where you met me in year 2, where I was then starting to get into that. I don't want to be braggadocious to it, but it was like a 6-figure range of like year 2. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. There's real money to be made here. Yeah. Because leaving a career of 6+ figures, you're making $3,000. And you're like, what do I do? I got a car, I got a house, I got a mortgage. So yeah, that's when you and I connected. It's
funny. I always ask people like when they're like, oh, I quit my job. I got my real estate license. And then they I'm always like, get your real estate license first and then we'll talk. Like pass the state exam, then we'll have a conversation. And then my next question is, how much runway do you have? Like how long can you not make money until you're out of money? And I need to know, like, cool, we'll cut that in half. Like, let's get rocking. But I always ask about that can you make $3,000 for 2 years, or can you make $3,000 for 1 year? And then it's like, okay, we need to get our ass in gear.
Yeah. And there's a lot of agents that jump, that make the jump or make the leap, whatever anybody wants to say. And if you're not prepared, meaning you're not doing that ground game, if you think your phone's going to ring just because you told everybody on social media, hey, I do real estate now, that's not how this works.
No. I wish it was. That would be cool.
We wouldn't be talking. I'd be on an island. Right?
I love it. All right, cool. So then from there, KW, you ended up making the jump to Rebacks for a short stint, right?
Yep. Yeah, it was a good move. It gave me a different understanding of the business. What I loved about Keller Williams was the idea of like this corporate infrastructure, because I came from corporate America. So corporate infrastructure was there. Once I kind of had the rhythm in place, which is about 2+ years at Keller, jumping over and saying, all right, well, let me chase some liberty. Let me chase some freedom of what I want to go do. And I'm not a number out of a big organization or a big office. I'm actually meaningful of saying, all right, cool. If I'm in the top 10% in this office, I'm paying a lot of bills for this office. And what does that allow me to do? So that was a cool leap for me. And it gave me some other people around me to learn from as well.
Yeah. And I feel like that too was kind of being more of that as more of the entrepreneurial experience. I feel like too, that then sculpted you into, was Coronato Property Group the next step from there? You went independent?
It was at there. I created a team. I got tired of glad-handing myself on social media. And saying, oh, look how great Chris Coronato is. And again, that's part of our business, right? That's a little part of our allure is like, well, look what I did. It's like a child coming up to you and saying, oh, let me show you this. And saying, all right, well, hold on. I've got other people that are helping me with this. I'm doing other things with this. So that's when Coronato Property Group became established as a team. And it was shortly thereafter of establishing that team, probably about 6 months to 9 months, of saying, I can open an office and see what that looks like. So we just kind of moved the brand. And it was that perception of Coronato Property Group in that RE/MAX stage for me. And again, I talk a lot about perception because, look, there's a lot of agents out there that are doing some really amazing things, and you'd have no idea.
Right.
They don't talk it, they don't walk it, and they don't want to. And there's some of them that do that. There's others that are so over the top that you're like, wait a second, what's going on here? Is that, I can see your numbers on the back of the house. What's happening here? So being able to have that perception of, here's the deliverables, here's what I'm bringing to the table, here's what I'm doing, and here's what I have to show for it, moved me into a position with some of my other partners and some of the other players that I had to say, hey, I can open my own office. So I did. I opened my own shop in 2018.
Got it.
So it was about 4 or 5 years into the business.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. And then obviously we had COVID 2020. That was just an interesting time in the world of brokerage.
Yeah. Interesting is a good word.
And I know, so like in growing your own brokerage and doing the independent model and whatnot, what was the goal? What were you looking to do with it?
The idea that the things I had learned from Keller Williams or RE/MAX or some of the other companies that I was even involved with or might have been approached with or knew about, I wanted to be agent-centric. Branding, I felt, for the agents was a critical piece to the puzzle. The idea that you want to play for the name on the back of the jersey, not the name on the front of the jersey, right? And you have agents that are going out there and screaming from the top of the mountain that they work for X brokerage. Well, okay, cool. Well, you as an agent, if you moved away from this, or if you were on a team, or if you did whatever it was, what do you have to show for it?
Right.
What are you bringing to the table beyond having all of this? So the first instinct that I had with an office was I had all this branding and all this perception of like, hey, here's what Chris and Coronato Property Group can do, and this is awesome. And I built a reputation off of that. How can I move that to other agents to say, hey, you can have this too? Coronato Property Group's cool, but you as an agent,
duplicate the play.
Let's do this as you may want to see it.
Yeah.
And I'll help you with that. So that was the idea. And then obviously, look, I wasn't, anybody who says that they own a brokerage and they want to be a millionaire is just crazy.
Yeah.
The idea that there's a lot of stuff that goes on in that. And in this day and age, especially with the commissions and everything else, you're making a good living being a broker or being an owner of an office. But at the end of the day, it's not these pipe dreams of like, I'm going to make $10 million a year and, these crazy numbers that are popping out there. It's really just like, hey, if you can make a living doing it, that's awesome. But if you can help agents doing it, that's going to make it something from a longevity standpoint. Yeah. So that was my goal.
Yeah, even like going back to like a Ryan Serhant or something, would probably make more money if he was just a realtor still versus this big brokerage that he's growing. And it might be better on the other end eventually. Sure. But I can tell you he's probably in it with like crazy profitability and scale and all these issues happening because it's
and you're trying to duplicate that personality.
Yeah.
Right. And that's I mean, we all try to do that. Yeah. Right. We all want like how great would it be if you had an office of Chris Coronatos or Brett Sikoras or oh man, they do exactly what I do and this is that's not it's not possible. B, you'd go crazy.
Yeah.
And I think that's where relationships have to have some sort of dichotomy to them where you're not just linear of like everyone doing this repetitive motion, and you want to see others grow. I don't know if Ryan's, to your point, if Ryan's doing it, awesome, but he's probably just better off just saying, screw it. Let's just go let me sell
$100 million penthouses.
Yeah.
Just make commissions on this.
Make commissions.
You were really good at it.
Phenomenal at it. Got a TV show.
Yeah.
You don't need to do anything else.
Yeah. No, it's a perfect example of like exactly what happens when you start to get into like the leading the agents and whatnot too. But I feel like me personally, like I'm just so geeked out on the process of it, and I'm so deep into it now that I'm like, this is fun. From that, like, what would you say? What were some just natural leadership things that you experienced from having your own brokerage or having your own team?
So I'd come from the world of coaching, training, developing. So that was very easy to implement. Plan.
Right.
And again, to any agents out there, and I'll speak to the camera on this, with any agents out there without a plan, you're not getting anywhere.
Right.
So implementing a game plan is first, and being able to then pile onto that game plan of the step-by-step that you need to take in the day-to-day, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly things that you need to be able to do. That was the easy part for me to transition that into the what goal, meaning what do you want to make? Because everyone needs some sort of goal post, right? To the why goal. Why are we doing this? Like, what is it that's driving you to get to that what goal? Everybody wants to be a millionaire now. Everyone wants to be a billionaire, whatever that number is. Why are you doing it?
Yeah.
And the coaching and the training and the leadership that we brought to the table at Coronato, or that we bring to the table at Coronato Property Group, is focusing on that why to influence the what. I have a very good ground rule that if you're taking care of your clients, you're taking care of your people, the money's going to be a byproduct to it. That's going to flow. Yeah. If you're doing all of the right things along the way in the transaction or in your prospecting or in anything else you're doing, the money's just going to come in on it. It's going to show up and you're like, oh, I made money off of that. And if you keep duplicating that process, that's what's going to be great about it. So it's kind of the skill set that we were teaching was put the blinders on, look at the success of your clients. Everything else is going to happen from there. So the coaching, training, developing, that was an easy thing for me. Yeah, it feels like, and I feel like when you talk about fitness, when you talk about it, like saying somebody tells you can't do that sort of thing, like I feel like you're really good at like obsessing over the intensity, like this is what I'm doing. Yep. Come with me or get out of the way. We're going to rock. We're going to win. We're going to do this. And it's really like inspiring to be around just in the last few months that we've been, close together on this. And I know that as we're, transition to EXP, we've been targeting other like small mom and pop brokerages, some bigger mom and pop brokerages, other teams, other people we've spoken to over the years. What would you say in your experience with being independent? Like what were some of the things that weren't as great, for instance? Competition. One of those old adages, which I'll say it's an old adage, is you need an office here, you need an office there. It's a gorilla pounding its chest, in my opinion. The idea that, and I'm not going to take any brokerage down or say that they're doing it the wrong way, but when you're looking at overhead and rent and this and that, you're chasing that dollar rather than chasing what the customer service should look like and what the aspects should look like in the agents and all the rest. Because you have overhead, you have all this other crazy stuff. So the competition was one thing that came to mind in regards to how can we employ all of these things that all of these other major brokerages have, whether it's a Keller Williams or a Remax or a Weichert or whatever it is, but still remain boutique, but then also still keep our head above water. So that was probably the biggest challenge, still is, that trying to figure out how do you make money in the business without spending your way to try to compete with things that, unfortunately, because of the size and scope, it becomes difficult. Right. So that's probably the biggest challenge. The next biggest challenge, recruiting from that, right? And saying, all right, well, hey, you're part of XYZ. I know you're getting certain things, but you're not focusing on all this other stuff that needs to happen. And also, are you being paid appropriately to do so? And are you just being a cheerleader for whatever this organization is? As I say that out loud, a lot of people are going to hear that. Yeah, I am a cheerleader for whatever, and this sucks. But to make that jump, to say, hey, we can take care of you, and here's 2 or 3 people that are in charge of this office, and it's a 20-person office, you're going to be our player. We're going to coddle you. This is going to be what it is. So having that translate and understanding to that other side, it becomes challenging. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. And it's something, too, like I feel like with the journey and what we're going through now, with you coming into our world, coming into EXP, you actually you still have whatever experience the agent wants, but then they also, let's say somebody wants a big brand behind them, or let's say that somebody wants to run their own team, or somebody's in California, or it gives you that flexibility where you're able to kind of build wherever with it. Yeah. And that was the biggest draw. And you were the first phone call after I kind of made the decision that, hey, our company's going to go a different direction. The idea that Coronato Property Group can remain, that my agents and what I want to teach, train, and develop can still remain, but all of the other assets that EXP can bring to the table and amplify this, it's huge. And saying, all right, Coronato Property Group, brokered by EXP, cool. And as I look at other offices, and as I talk to other offices, Jane Smith Realty, brokered by EXP, is a possibility.
Yeah.
And you get to compete with these other big conglomerates that are out there because you're part of a big conglomerate, but you still have that intimacy that you want from the boutique brokerage or from that smaller office or that team that's starting to like really pick up traction, but they're not getting the support because frankly, some of these brands don't want to be overshadowed by, and that's how they think about it, right? When you think about franchises, you think about owners, well, I don't want this agent to overshadow me, and I still do it. Like as I look at my roster of agents, I'm like, wait, how many transactions are they doing this year? All right, hold on a second. I can put the gas down and I got to figure this out. They're not beating me. And having that competitiveness is fun, but is it deterring the business?
Right.
Or is it deterring that agent's growth? And where you can have that kind of mesh to say, hey, we can give you all this stuff because we are a big company, huge company, but you can still remain as an individual, a team or a brokerage or a small office or a boutique brokerage. That's huge.
Yeah.
And I think that's such an asset to me, and it's going to be an asset to my agents it'd be an asset to everybody.
Yeah.
That wants to, kind of pick apart their own business and say, I can do this on my own, but I want the support of, all of this other stuff that happens with it.
Yeah, and I think that too, like what you're seeing, I always say, the tide went out 3 years ago when the rates went.
Sure.
And the tide's been out for 3 years at this point. So you're starting to see certain broker owners or team leaders that are just fatigued and they don't have the energy to keep going. And I always think, you ever see the movie Mystery, Alaska? The hockey one?
No.
I'm going to send you this clip one day. But I think it's Russell Crowe's in it, and he's talking about they're between the second and third period, and he's like, I'm not fucking tired. He's like, is anybody fucking tired? Right. And he's like screaming at the locker room. And I always think of that clip. I share it with my own organization probably twice a year. But I'm like, I'm not tired, man. I'm not stopping in any way, shape, or form. And when you and I chatted over the summer, and I was like, I want you to talk to Lars, I want you to talk to John. They're not tired either. So it's really fun when, I always say my daughter's 3.5 years old. I got a good 14.5 years before she's off to college.
Sure.
And then I'm probably done. But that's my runway right now where I'm like, we're hammering. I want running partners.
Sure.
You're a badass at what you're already doing coming into this world. Like we're doing really cool things. And
Thanks.
To that point, dude, I'm on an 8:00 Zoom tonight with a gentleman that's connected to me through you.
Sure.
With his team, which is the final, like, hey, we're getting ready to move the whole team over. I can't remember the last time I was on an 8 p.m. Zoom on a Monday night.
Right.
And that just shows, like, I was on a 7 p.m. Zoom Friday night too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in it, man. And I know you're in it. And and this is one of those areas where I'm like, yeah, let's just hammer. Let's see what we can do. And it brings me back to like the Drake song. He says, someone told me I fell off. Ooh, I needed that. Like when you mentioned that from the 6 months in, that song just got triggered where it's like, yeah, let's go see how fast we can build to 2000. Let's go see, who wants to run with us. And I think that too is like your energy is contagious through it, where some of the folks, like let's say a broker owner or a team leader or an individual agent, they're saying in themselves like, man, I'm in year 3 of this, tougher market and I'm starting to get tired. I need like another hit of energy and everything to keep getting through this. And I feel like we're starting to have that slingshot effect. It's starting to ease up. It's going to get easier to make money as a real estate agent. And I think that's a perfect, like if an agent's feeling that or a team leader, they should be reaching out to you, reaching out to us to give them that energy through that next sprint.
It's hitting that next gear in the toolbox and saying, all right, or in the car, right? And I'll make the car analogies if you want, but it's going to the next gear, right? So the idea that the guy you're talking to tonight, I know who you're referencing, guy's on full throttle all the time. He's just so fast, moves really quickly, but unbelievably influential. Giving him the runway to say, hey, you don't have to be just here, in this town or this area or this county, and say, hey, you've got relationships all over the place. And this is another thing for me specifically is saying, hey, if I can help people with their marketing, branding, expansion, and kind of still being part of that community vibe of whether it's a small brokerage or anything in a totally other state, it's a huge plus for me, right? And being able to have that kind of runway and giving him the runway to say, hey, you've got these contacts all over the place. Start influencing them the way you want to influence them. and build a different part of your business too. And to your point, look, the real estate market in general, it's been a little slow, right? There's been, what'd you say, the tide was out. But the idea that you could still do other things in other markets because you're part of such a much larger brand is an enormous piece, right? And I think about that even from a seasonal basis. Like we're in the Northeast right now. We're trudging through snow at the moment while we're talking through this. But in Florida, people are doing whatever they got to go do, in Texas and all the rest. So you have all these southern states that are still wrapping business, but people are like, I don't want people in my house. What are you talking about? I said, all right, well, let me see what I can do to influence down there. And look, being a small mom and pop brokerage, as we would call them, if you can't influence anybody in Florida, you're not going to be able to do that. Well, now being part of this organization that you have this runway and bandwidth to utilize, go to the Florida piece. So like that guy tonight, he's going to run all over the place because he's just got some amazing contacts and some great energy, but it's that next gear that I think allows us to really move forward, and having all of that structure and support. It's just getting that gear into hyperdrive.
He's a good example too of somebody that had explored the model through other people in the past and was basically, I don't know if you remember when he was first coming on, he's like, what's different? What's different? And then we just had to keep being like, dude, we're going. If
we're
you want,
different.
If you want to rock with this, we're going to be psychos going after it right now.
Yeah.
And he was able to feel that after a few calls, and now he's like, all right, this is what he wanted. He wanted people who were going to run with him, you know?
And I think that that's important.
Yeah.
I don't want to cut you off, but I think the people you're running with are just as important as the organization itself.
Right.
And this is where you can get to the franchise world of things with the brokerages. And look, some franchise owners are better than others, right? And you'll see that throughout every organization. But with this, there's no franchise, right? Awesome. But two, and I think the bigger thing is that the people you're aligning yourselves with in the business that are going to be above you, below you, around you, that's going to be the catalyst for you to create greatness. And it's not just going to be like, all right, well, I've got these 20 people in my office. Who do I latch onto that's doing better than I am? And you run them out, and you're like, all right, well, what's next? It's like, no, there's a lot here. So not to cut you off, I kind of want to just...
Yeah, and even to that point, too, there's so many franchise owner competitions, like specifically in New Jersey, where this one owns these 4 franchises, this one owns these 4. They recruit from one another within the same brand. There's no integrity there. The cool thing about what we're doing is through co-sponsorship, you could even say, like, Ricky Caruth's a big name at EXP. He's not a part of our family, but you might have a heavy phones guy, for instance, that you put under you, but it's also best to co-sponsor with Ricky Caruth, for instance, and then you're able to, it's almost taking like 2 franchises and marrying them together to really make sure the agent, the team leader, whoever comes in underneath you has that best experience. And that's one of those things that, like, that's super tough to compete with.
Sure.
You know?
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's the agent's success.
Yeah.
Right? If the agents aren't successful and they're not having enough resources, and look, you can have the greatest tech, and we do, and you can have some of the greatest platforms, and we do, but if you don't have all of these other people that are around you doing it and implementing it and helping you and showing you and moving forward with you, I mean, look, EXP wouldn't be anything, just like every other brokerage wouldn't be, if it wasn't for the people you're surrounded with. So you could be the coolest thing on the block, which EXP seems like it is, but if you don't have the coolest people, that doesn't matter, right? Yeah. So I had to kind of join that direction anyway, so good. So.
And I think that's one of the fun things with what we're doing too, is just like you were duplicating the marketing, the branding process that you went through for the agents to come through Coronato Property Group. It's a play that you already ran that was successful for you. So you know that you can coach, teach, and train on it based on true data. Obviously, there's a lot of folks that are, let's say they're a team leader, manager, or something like that at an office, that a lot of times they sucked at selling. And then they fell back on a salary. Right. And then that person is the person that's guiding an agent that, like, you might be able to get that person to $3 million or $6 million in production, but at some point, they're going to start questioning the tactics that they're trying to teach you from a book on plays that they never ran or were never successful at. Right. And when that happens, that agent looks around and looks for the people who've already run the play for the next level that they're looking to go. Yeah. And that's what's really cool about what we're doing right here is the differentiator. Yes, we broke through EXP, super cool, great. Like you said, the tech's wonderful. But the differentiator is no matter what you're looking to do in this business, there's somebody within our tight circle here that's already run that play. Yeah. And that's really, really tough to compete with.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah. So cool, man. What are you seeing? What are your goals? What are we doing at EXP now?
So the big announcement is Coronato Property Group is going to be brokered by EXP. That's going to be one subsection of what I'm looking at. The next part for me, honestly, is looking at agent development from a broader perspective and being able to impact people that look, you don't want to necessarily be part of Coronato Property Group. You don't necessarily want to be part of whatever other team that might be there. How can I influence that? How can I help that? What can I do? Because I think just like any other office, and we'll call ourselves an office, that you're bringing in talent to be able to influence others.
Yeah.
So for me, the next step for me is traveling around, being able to talk to other small brokerages and being able to speak to the idea of what EXP would look like for them, but also retaining their brand, retaining that intimacy, having that community involvement that needs to be there. Whether you're a team, whether you're a small brokerage or a boutique brokerage or anything like that, is that how do you really cement that?
Right.
But also have a little bit more engine behind you to kind of push you to the next step. So my role is going to be kind of shifting over to helping so many more people than I could in my immediate vicinity.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. No, we're grateful to have you, man. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. And
Thanks.
Dude, I appreciate it, man.
I appreciate
Sky's the
it
limit.
too, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me.